welcome to today's edition of the afternoon edition. My name is Isa Nu, and today we are here live from the studio of ASO TV Radio, and today we have to look at so many issues. But before we go into the details of the intro, there are several issues that have actually taken place in Nigeria, most especially when it comes to the issue of professional bodies. For many, we see it as a replication of so many organizations. For some, we don't even know where and where they were registered. But how come do we have so many regulatory bodies and then the government seems not to be taking note of the activities of these particular bodies? Today, let us delve into one of the most critical aspects of professional bodies in Nigeria, and that is the Chartered Institute of Project Management Nigeria. For some time now, there have been so many bickering around the issues that concerns the project management team. And for many of us who actually pass through the gate of the National Youth Service Corps, we know that even during our service year, there are people that actually come down there to say, okay, you can come and join us. We are project managers. We are going to train you for a parting fee of probably maybe 10,000, 15,000 naira and the rest of it. We have so many of these particular people, also organizations across the country. But the question still lies with the government. How do you regulate? Who are the leadership of this particular organization? And one of the most critical aspects today that we are going to be looking at is the issue of impersonation that has actually fueled so many problems. So many money has been taken away as a result of impersonation. And because we don't take much of due diligence, we discover scammers having a free way to become millionaires. If not, they can also become billionaires. But this is one critical aspect that the government have to actually pay much attention to. Addressing this problem is very, very key. Otherwise, today, you are having a certificate certified by a particular organization. And when you go out for screening at the end of the day, for maybe to a particular organization that actually do more of due diligence, you discover that the certificate you are having is not a genuine one. How do you feel? My name is Isa Nu, and today, on the afternoon edition, we'll be having two key personalities from the institute, or let me say from the Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria. And before I introduce my guest, they've done so much, and just recently they had an induction. The induction I was fully aware of, and our reporters were there to actually brief us about what happened on that particular day. And amongst us here is the president of the Nigerian that's the Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria, in person of Dr. Jamilu Isa Yankwashi. Good afternoon and welcome to the afternoon edition.
Yeah, good afternoon, viewers. Thank you very much for your audience.
And also, they call her the powerful woman among the men. And her name is Dr. Cynthia Benson, the Vice President South. Good afternoon and welcome to the afternoon edition.
Good afternoon, sir.
It's nice having both of you on this particular program due to the exigencies of issues that we have today. But then still, we'll take a very short break. Stay tuned. When we return, we dissect so many issues that pertains to this particular organization, and how you can be a member will also be unveiled on this particular platform.
We are a nation blessed with people of diverse cultures, religions, languages, and opinions. It is ironic that we are now being ripped apart by our greatest strength, our diversity. We have allowed intolerance, insensitivity, bigotry, and nepotism to blind our vision of the greatness we can achieve working together as one. We may not have the same culture, nor religion, nor language, but we all belong to the same nation by the divine will of God. We did not choose to be Nigerians. Nigeria chose us. This nation is our divine heritage, and if we open our eyes, we would realize that what divides us pales in comparison to what unites us. And by the comparison and conciliation of our differences, we will grow until our differences disappear. Our unity cannot be willed by mere declarations, Nor do we get unity by ignoring the questions that beg for answers. We must celebrate our diversity and debate our differences without fracturing our unity. Our strength is not in our numbers, but in our unity, because even the weak become strong when united. Nigeria unite. This message is brought to you by Abuja Broadcasting Corporation, owners and operators of ASO Radio 93.5 FM Abuja, ASO Television DSTV Channel 392, Star Times Terrestrial Channel 127, Free TV Channel 507, People's TV Channel 285, and UHF Channel 38.
Welcome back from that mild break, and just before the break I did inform you that we have two personalities in the studio today, in person of Dr. Jamilu Isa Yankwashi, the president of the Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria, and also the leadership from the South, in person of Dr. Cynthia Benson, are here in the studio to actually push their agenda in terms of how they practice their profession in the country. And let me quickly just ask Dr. Jamilu, once more good afternoon, and thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you.
It's nice having you in the studio today, because for some time now we've had series of issues across the country, and it is becoming very, very difficult even for government to have a database to actually know who are the actual people on ground. But thank God for the Corporate Affairs Commission. Today you are here as the president of the Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria. We've heard of so many issues with respect to your organization. How did it even come about, the organization, and what are you people doing with respect to so many interlopers into your organization?
Thank you very much, viewers, once again, for having me and my colleague, the Vice President South, Dr. Cynthia Ifeoma Benson. The Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria was a creation of the law that was passed and signed into law by the National Assembly on the 24th of January 2018. And Section 10, subsection 1b, provided that from the commencement date of the Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria, the incorporated institute we are talking about with CAC ceases to exist completely. So, Section 2, subsection 1, provided that there shall be for the Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria the Governing Council, which shall be charged with the responsibility for the administration and general management of the institute. Section 2, subsection 2 of the Act provided for the detailed composition of the Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria's Governing Council, which regulates the profession, regulates the institute and the profession as a whole. So we are the valid and legitimate leadership of the Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria by the pronouncement of the Supreme Court of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. There was a judgment that was delivered on the 8th of June 2023 that removed the former leadership and appointed us. There was an appeal. At that appeal, a motion for stay of execution of the judgment of the trial court was filed, which was dismissed with cost of 200,000 naira, affirming with our name is written black and white that we are the valid leadership of the institute. The appellants were not satisfied. They went to the Supreme Court. When they went to the Supreme Court, they applied for a motion to stay the execution of the ruling of the Court of Appeal and also the judgment of the trial court. That motion for stay was struck out on the 4th of March 2024. the Court of Appeal delivered its ruling on the 5th of December 2023. They moved to Supreme Court. By 4th of March 2024, the Supreme Court struck out that application, thereby making the ruling of the Court of Appeal and the judgment of the trial court fully operational. They are not satisfied. They also went and filed another motion at the Supreme Court, which is a clear case of abuse of court process, because the Supreme Court is the apex court, is the highest court on the land. Once it makes its pronouncement, if you are a lawful Nigerian citizen, what is required of you is obedience. So on the 30th of June 2025, the Supreme Court now also ruled on this second motion that they filed. They struck out the motion for stay of execution and also even struck out the interlocutory appeal as a whole, with a cost of 1 million naira against the appellant for abusing the process of the Supreme Court, which now made the ruling of the Court of Appeal and the judgment of the trial court fully operational without the hindrance that we are the valid and legitimate leadership of the Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria. So if you are looking for a valid and genuine certificate that can be used for admission, for appointment, or employment, or promotion, or to practice the project management profession in Nigeria, we are the right leadership for you to approach and ensure that you are trained and you are also licensed fully to practice the profession legitimately in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So that is the issue of where to go, and the issue of imposters and impersonators parading themselves that they are the leadership, issuing people fake certificate, collecting money from them, thereby defrauding them of their hard-earned money to issue fake certificate to them with the name of the CIPM Institute, innocently. So we are calling on all Nigerians to ensure that they get their certification and licensing to practice the project management profession from us, being the valid leadership of the CIPM Institute. You see, once there are pronouncement of the court, issue of faction has ended. Section 6 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria vested the judicial powers of the state on the law courts for interpretation of laws, peace, order, and good governance of this country. So once the court has made pronouncement, if you are not satisfied, you go to the appellate court, up to the Supreme Court. And once the Supreme Court has made its pronouncement, you have to abide by that particular pronouncement of the Supreme Court, because that is the apex court.
Before I come to you, Cynthia Benson, let me quickly add this today, because you've raised critical issues here, and I'm looking at what I'm seeing here, because sometimes when you see a poster, it may look like probably maybe the person that is actually supposed to be in power or in position is not acting, or maybe the organization is not functioning. And people take advantage of that looseness and assume position that they actually is not actually theirs. So don't you think probably maybe the CIPM itself, the actual one that is accepted by the Supreme Court, don't you think it's because they've not been having major activities that can actually showcase who they are or tell who the leadership are, made the other organization to actually take advantage of that and start presenting themselves as the actual one?
We do. Even recently on the 30th of May, you just mentioned we have an induction.
Yes, and what I'm saying is before even that particular induction.
Yes, we do have. We have several inductions in 2024, 2023. Don't forget the judgment was delivered, like I have said, on the 8th of June 2023. So after we took over, we did about 2 inductions in 2023. We did about 2 in 2024. In this 25, we also did 1. You know, so we have been very, very active. Not only active, when this issue came, we now have to report the matter to the Nigerian Police Force. Because you cannot have a valid judgment and somebody is parading himself as the leadership. Nigeria is a lawful country. Nobody should be allowed.
The position of the Nigerian
Of course,
police?
after the Nigerian police force has finished investigation, they charge them to court. This matter is even, after they charged them to court, there was some shenanigans. We have to now petition to the Inspector General of Police.
Okay,
the Inspector General of Police investigated the matter and also charged them back to court. And the matter is coming for their arraignment on the 10th of this July. That's next week. This impersonator. So it's not that the institute is not doing anything. We are very active and we are taking necessary steps to ensure that the imposters were checkmated within the confines of the law.
Okay, let me quickly ask Dr. Cynthia. You are the leader in the South, and you understand the demography of the South very well, so you understand the possibility of anybody trying to rear his head as the leader of this particular organization. How do you feel when you people started encountering issues, or probably questions are being raised as to which one is legal, knowing fully well that one is impersonating the other?
You know, they're saying that say nothing good come easily.
Yeah.
So people raising their head from anywhere, because they saw they are saying something good in the institute. That is why them too, they want to be recognized. They want the society to also move with them. So that is why they want to be recognized too and be part of the institute. So if you are acting on my feelings, I would say it doesn't really count like that, because everybody wants something good. That is why they want to be part of it.
But when you say it doesn't really count, this is the image. Your image now is being targeted.
Yes.
Because if it doesn't really count, then people won't actually value the organization. It would look like somebody's actually taking advantage of you, and then you still feel that, no, you can actually take advantage of me, as far as it doesn't have any grievous attack on you.
And that is why there's some cases now in the courts to address that matter. Just as our president have said, the president of the institute have said, that there's so many cases, we're not just sitting back to leave them to do anything they so want to do. That is not like that. Everything is being taken care of gradually. We'll allow the court of law to take its place, which is the court of law that even gave us the seats for us to, the mandate to operate. So we allow the law to take its course.
But how far have you gone in terms of penetration? How far is Nigerians aware about your activities as an organization and recognition of you guys as the leadership of this particular institute?
Yes, for that I would say look at this program too, is one of the reaching out to people. There will be some radio jingles and so telling people about the institute. I think with that they will get to know more about the institute and know that we are the authentic institute, or the authentic people handling the institute now.
Okay, let me quickly come back to the president. Then saying the fact that you've actually passed through so many rigorous process, and you are trying to forge ahead, but people are trying to draw you back. And from my investigation, is he one of the impersonator was a member, or is he still a member? At some point, I was even made to understand that he was actually a former president of this particular institute. Am I correct?
No. Well, one of the impersonators, I agree with you, is the former president, Dr. Mrs. Victoria Ekerema Okoronko. Actually, she founded the institute as Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria, limited by guarantee with CAC.
Yes, okay.
After that, she developed a private bill and took it to the National Assembly. The bill was passed into law 2017. By the 24th day of January 2028, it was assented into law by former President Muhammadu Buhari. Like I earlier told you, Section 10, subsection 1B of the Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria Establishment Act 2017 provided that from the commencement date of this particular institute, the incorporated institute she incorporated with CAC ceases to exist.
Yes.
So it is no longer her private personal company. It is now an institute for over 200 million Nigerians who are interested in managing the project profession. That is why Section 19, subsection 2, Section 19, subsection 4, A, B, and C criminalizes the practicing of the project management profession without having legitimate license from the legitimate and authentic Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria. If it is still a private company, how can you go to jail for up to 2 years by not registering it in a private company? It won't operate. But it is now for the general public. It is not owned by the federal government, but it is owned by the general public as a body corporate for the regulation of the project management profession in Nigeria. That is exactly the clear provision of Section 1, subsection 1 of the CIPA Establishment Act, which establishes the institute, which says there shall be Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria, which shall be called an institute, which shall be a body corporate for project managers in Nigeria. Section 1, subsection 3 of the Act provided that the institute can sue and be sued in its corporate name, and can also acquire landed property in its corporate name in line with the Land Use Act. Section 23 of the Act, which is the interpretation section, provided that this institute, to clear any doubt about the status of the institute, that interpretation section under Section 23 now says that this institute is what was stated under Section 1.1, that it is a body corporate, not an agency of the federal government, not a commission or a parastatal, but a body corporate for the regulation of project management professional and licensing. But the federal government has a representation on the governing council. It's not owned by the federal government, but the federal government has representation on the governing council under Section 22D, Roman number 1, number 2, and number 3. That is representation from Federal Ministry of Education, not Education first, Federal Ministry of Finance, Federal Ministry of Works and Housing, and then Federal Ministry of Education. Represented, nominated by the ministers. And once there is even vacancy, it has to also be filled by the same ministry to represent the institute. So it's not owned by the government, but the federal government is fully involved in running the day-to-day affairs of the institute. So that is the position of the law about the status of the institute and also the mandate it has for regulation and licensing of the project management profession in Nigeria.
So in this particular case now, because one of the
one of the impersonators,
yes,
has been kicked out by the judgment of the court of law. In that judgment, this particular, the first thing she did, she filed a preliminary objection, PO, that the FCT High Court did not have the jurisdiction to hear the matter because it is a federal government agency. Having heard from our own side, the court now ruled that the Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria, specifically page 8 and 9, the last paragraph of page 8 and up to the first paragraph of page 9 of the judgment that was delivered by the FCT High Court on the 8th of June 2023, clearly provided that the institute is not under any administrative control of the federal government, as it is not its agency. And that was the judgment that was upheld by the Supreme Court, my brother. So all doubt has been cleared about the status of this particular institute.
So now every license.
So the second impersonator is one Harry Ifanyi Mbadwe. He was appointed as the registrar of the institute in 2019 by this same Dr. Mrs. Victoria Ekerema Okoronko that was sacked by the judgment of the court. Not only she was sacked, the same judgment also said that all her actions, all her decisions, all her steps, all her commitment is also set aside. Which also include the appointment of this same Harry Ifanyi Mbadwe, because she unilaterally appointed him. And Section 11, subsection 1 said the powers to appoint the registrar shall be appointed by the governing council. Paragraph 3(4) of the first schedule to the Act, created by Section 2, subsection 3 of the CIPA Establishment Act 2017, clearly provided that the quorum of the council shall be 10, and the quorum of a committee of the council shall be determined by the governing council. Of course, a committee can be a committee of 3, 5, 7, usually is an odd number, depending on what the council wants the committee to do. It will now form its, the committee. So it will determine the quorum. But that of the governing council was determined by the Act itself, because Section 2.2 has already provided the detailed composition of the governing council. So it's known by the Act, and the Act has provided the quorum for the governing council for any decision to be taken for it to be valid. She went ahead and appointed him unilaterally. Number 2, Section 11, subsection 2 now said you must have relevant qualification in project management, and you must also have 12 years cognate experience. This word cognate experience is telling you 12 consecutive years in project management. As at 2019 that she went to employ him, my brother, this boy has not even done his NYSC service. Not to talk of having 12 years cognate experience thereafter.
So I can imagine.
So I personally objected to that.
I can imagine.
So up to now,
yes.
you up to now that these are the judgment that Saki. So I went to court. The court now pronounced this appointment invalid. In fact, when we went to court, this former president that was sacked by the judgment, she went and produced minutes of meeting that she didn't employ him unilaterally, but he was employed by the governing council. Meanwhile, in October, this same young man has given me a letter to go for one training because I was then the vice president in September 2027. So a month before the purported approval, he has September 2019.
Okay.
And then she brought a minute in October 2019, purporting to be that he was appointed by the council in October 2019. Meanwhile, he has given me a letter signed as registrar in September 27, 2019. That's a month before the purported approval. He has been appointed, assumed duty, and started working. And when the court now saw that, the court agreed with our submission that really she appointed him unilaterally.
I can imagine.
Which is now telling you that this second judgment, sir, which is now telling you that this second judgment that set aside all her actions, all her steps, all her decisions, the first judgment confirmed she unilaterally appointed him. The second judgment said all her actions, all her decisions and commitment, steps, is also set aside, which also include this is judgment. So we serve him 2 letters of terminating his appointment, but he is still parading himself as the registrar. Not only as registrar, sir. He is saying he is the registrar general, chief executive officer. So, and this position of registrar general is not provided anywhere in the Act. It's a non-existing office. The only position that was provided is Section 2.2H. The registrar is the secretary of the council.
Listen, with all these challenges the organization is facing, do you see a way forward?
Absolutely.
Beyond this quagmire that you are having? Yes, some of the cases are probably, I don't know of all the cases, but with what you've stated so far, you've won most of your cases. Do you see a major transformation under you as the leader of the CIPM? Of course, sir.
Why I'm answering you with affirmative, because already the Supreme Court has ruled on this matter.
And what are your steps to actually make it a body that can stand firm without anybody impersonating, anybody threatening it, and you actually achieving your goal?
One of the steps is attending your program, being anchored by yourself, to inform the general public that really the Supreme Court has already put this matter to rest. The issue of leadership of the institute is now put to rest by the decision of the Supreme Court, because that is the apex court of the land. The court has removed these impersonators. The ex poste, it has failed.
But in this particular case now, let me come back to you, Cynthia. Your president have actually stated so much. I can imagine the kind of challenge your organization is actually, your organization has actually surmounted from one court to the other and the rest of it. What kind of mindset would you want Nigerians to look at the organization now that you've been able to achieve this particular milestone?
The mindset I want Nigerians to have is that this institute is here to serve and help the people, the public. So if them joining this institute will make them more of a better person to work on projects, because our mandate as project managers is to see that project, all this abandoned project will not continue. So then being part of it, and it will help and make this Nigeria a better place, and which is our aim.
Okay,
to consolidate on this fact, the project management life cycle has 5 process groups. Some scholars call it 5 phases. The first phase is the scoping phase. In this scoping phase, the first function you do there is the appointment of the project manager. Most projects in Nigeria failed because you appointed a quack. Because the project manager is the life wire of the project. He drives the project. He makes it happen. So if you don't have a licensed project manager by the authentic Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria, from the onset, the project is dead on arrival.
Have you written to organizations?
Several organizations.
Who are actually building
several organizations.
And they agree to actually revoke the project they are doing and then make sure they have a project manager on site.
You know, Section 19, subsection 5 of the CFA Establishment Act 2017 clearly provided that even the authorities that appointed anybody to manage a project without license from the authentic Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria are also liable. That's what many authorities didn't know. They are liable for prosecution for up to 2 years imprisonment under Section 19, Section 4, A, B, and C. So we are calling on all Nigerians, especially those in position of authority. The days of you sitting down and just appoint anybody you like to manage any project and think you are the chief executive, you can do and undo, has gone. Very soon we will commence enforcement.
I was actually coming to that.
And prosecution.
I was actually coming to that because that's where we have so much of issues, because there are several situations or maybe several reports that have actually shown that sometimes we have so many abandoned projects. If you go within the city center, you discover that there are some projects or there are some sites you go to. For the past 10 years, nobody has actually revisited that particular project. And it is actually serving as a nuisance or as a place where criminals use as hideout. So your organization now, when it comes to enforcement, what are the strategies you have on ground to ensure that, because sometimes politicians, they actually come in to actually fault some of this process. What are the processes your organization is putting in place to ensure that, yes, irrespective of who you are in the country, irrespective of the organization you are manning or leading in this country, when you commence a project, you must ensure that there's a project manager on site?
Exactly. One of the steps we have taken is to liaise with the Bureau for Public Procurement to ensure that no contract is awarded to any company if it's not registered with the Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria and duly licensed to manage project in Nigeria, and at least must have 2 personnel who are licensed. The company must be licensed itself and must have at least 2 personnel among its own staff who are duly licensed to manage the project profession in Nigeria. So we have gone far in discussing with them to ensure that they make it a policy to comply with the judgment, to comply with the provision of the CFA Establishment Act, Section 14, subsection 9, which criminalizes the appointment of anybody to manage any project, whether in the public sector or in the private sector, if he is not licensed with the project managers of Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria. Number 2, also in 2023, we have an induction, and the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, CON, was fully represented in that particular induction, and he has delivered a speech and made some promises that he will ensure that he issued a circular to ministries, departments, and agencies to comply with the provision of the CFA Establishment Act, especially Section 14, subsection 9, Section 19, subsection 2, Section 19, subsection 4, A, B, and C, and Section 19, more particularly subsection 5, that deals with chief executives and authorities that are appointing project managers. So these are, and we are following up on that. We have even made some efforts to see that the circular is being issued out so that we have compliance from all the MDAs. And of course, we will also liaise with the security agencies to form an enforcement team for prosecution of anybody caught even on site without license from the institute to manage the profession. And then if you are arrested, then we now arrest the person that appointed you under Section 19, subsection 5.
These are very huge one, and these are very, very beautiful plan ahead for your organization. And let me quickly come back to Cynthia. You are a woman. You are in the midst of very talented and well-experienced set of leaders. And seeing the fact that you are from the, you are the Vice President South, you know what it means for people to actually get project done. For instance, if you look at the project between the Lagos and Calabar, that's a very huge investment. And many Nigerians have actually stated, okay, what are the process? What are the procedures? There are several projects in the South. If you go to places like Ibadan, you go to places like Lagos, you go to places like Port Harcourt, so many projects, especially the oil and gas sector. You discover that they can start a particular project and then they terminate. Before they come back, maybe it is after the community has actually raised questions before you see them going back on site. How do you plan to address this with the president?
How we plan to address it is that we coming here now is a starting point.
Yeah.
Creating awareness, we advocate, let people know that yes, this is what we are up to. That just as our president also said that project managers will be appointed to handle most projects. So those are the ways to go forward. We start from there, educate the people, let them know that this, and not just educating them, let them know also that if there are project managers that are handling projects and does not have the license, they are not licensed to handle, that they will be regarded as a criminal. So,
Exactly.
So that one is also a step to take. So that with that, people will be aware, the government will be aware, MDS, just as you said, ministries and parastatals, all of them have to key into this to make Nigeria work well.
Okay, in addition to what she has said, you know, one of the key problems we have probably in the South, or most especially in the South, is the center, let me say, is the pool where you have so many oil and gas companies. And there are issues of pipeline vandalization. At the end of the day, you discover that this fuel gets into the water, and then they start remediation. But at some point also they withdraw back, and you see the community start shouting, you've not done this, you've not done that, you've promised this, you've promised that. And there are project managers who are actually supposed to be on ground. Do you see most of these oil and gas firms, do you see them having project managers on site, and how do you plan to actually work with them to see that some of these issues that are being raised by people in the creek are actually addressed?
You see, a project is defined as a sequence of unique, complex, interconnected activities that are geared towards achieving a common goal with clear specification, with fixed budget, which is the cost, using a predetermined resources within a specified period of time. So any endeavor that made these characteristics is a project. That was the misconception many people have, as if
it is all about construction.
It's all about construction. You know, so even this issue of oil spillage and the cleanup is a project on its own. Once, because all those criteria must be put into place for that cleanup to be successful. So we are going to write to the chief executive officers of all these oil and gas organizations to ensure that all the people that are managing their projects, including Dangote refineries, and even BUA is coming up with his own refineries as well, to ensure that all the people that they appoint to manage their projects are actually trained and duly licensed by the Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria for them to give them the desired result. Don't forget, they are making an investment and they want result for their own investment. So it is also for their own good to ensure that the people they appointed are actually knowledgeable with skills to actually deliver their project to have the business value that they are looking for.
Okay. Let me quickly ask you, just your round of thoughts with respect to this particular issue, and then your forecast. Where do you see this particular institute in the next 5 to 10 years? Because now you've been able to weather down all the legal issues. Now, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years, and how many numbers of persons do you see yourself inducting between now and the next 5 years?
Okay, number of persons I'm expecting for us to induct. At least Nigeria has more than 200 million people, at least 50%. Because you as a person, everybody is a project manager, but you have to be licensed to. So at least minimum of 50% of Nigerians should be licensed to handle projects.
Okay, let me quickly come back to you, Mr. President.
And one of the strategy we employ to get to that is to see that we have an inroad to governors, both in the south and also in the northern Nigeria, because they have thousands of workers that are managing their project in their own states, which they can sponsor and get them licensed.
I'm happy you are trying to
manage their project. Why? Because governors are political office holders. They want to ensure that they deliver project, isn't it? Yeah. As part of the electoral promises that they have made to the citizens. One of the surest way of ensuring that you fulfill your campaign promise is to ensure you get a licensed project manager to deliver your project on time, so that you can showcase to the citizens that I have fulfilled my campaign promise. So it's in their own interest to ensure that they team up with us and have licensed project managers to manage their project in their respective states.
Okay, on a final note, what would you have to say to
and also, sir, very important.
Yes.
The governors also who approve contract for different companies to manage their project should also ensure any company that they want to, is licensed and have licensed project managers, because if they award the contract, they will go to the field and mess up. They are quack. What do you expect in the field? So it's not in their own interest to just say I approve so project contract for somebody whose company is not licensed and he doesn't have a licensed personnel.
So in this particular case now, what would you now say to majority of
the consequences of having such kind of thing is that you have citizens' dissatisfactions, litigations, cost overrun, and so many issues will come in the hand of that governor.
That's a very
that approves those kind of contract to quack.
Thank you so much, the president of the Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria. Thank you so much.
My last thought on the new inductees.
I was expecting your last thought.
My last thought on the inductees is to ensure that they guard their license jealously and deliver the right project successfully, because if they have any professional misconduct in the field, or any failure of project abandoned, we will withdraw that license.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Shemidu Isa Yankwachi, a very popular name.
Thank you.
And the president of the Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria, CIPMN, and also the big woman in the house, Dr. Cynthia Benson, the Vice President South. It's nice having both of you.
Thank you very much, sir. It's a pleasure having you.
This is how far we can go today on the program, the afternoon edition, discussing with noble personalities. And today, during the conversation, we discussed a lot for Nigerians to actually look forward to the betterment of organizations like the CIPM. Is very, very important, and for us to be able to achieve what we need to achieve as government, as civil society organization, and also even the state governors. You have to ensure that, yes, you certified project managers. My name is Isanu. Have a wonderful day and stay blessed.